Today's video about concrete. Surface cracking. How to avoid it? Well, I would say 100% of the time. You're like, how can you dare say 100% of the time? Where surface cracking is your paste. That's your paste, your product that you put on the surface. If you, to help you guys understand this and prove it to yourself, go find exposed aggregate wherever you can. And you'll find that if you look at this exposed aggregate, it's going on, I don't know, 60 years old. And how come we don't see any surface cracking in it? Did they install concrete better than current day? Well, apparently they did. Well, paste is drying out. Concrete is, exothermic. It creates some heat. And that heat and the ambient temperature can make your paste dry out and shrink. And it will shrink because you got on it too soon, because you still have too much surface bleed water on the surface. Let's go ahead and look at this. I just wanted to show you no surface cracks. Let's go ahead and continue out here. Notice the texture. This was broom swept. The broom sweeping after you're doing preparation or doing finishing also allows it to allow the water to evaporate evenly. It creates the ups and down valleys, if you will. See the surface, and that also helps the bleed water escape without having a shrinkage issue. Think of it as a bunch of millions of expansion and control joints being created when you do the brooming the surface. And what do you notice again? No surface cracks. No surface crack, guys. See the aggregate, the sweeping, the broom swept? Your surface cracks are from your steel trowel, your steel finishing. No surface cracks. Now I'll show you cracks in general. That isn't a driveway. That's another issue altogether. It's got some settling going on there. If you look at a crack in general with the sidewalks like this, you can look at the elevation changes, see if there's an elevation change in height, and you can determine which side gave. The lower side is the one that gave. That's the side that's giving. This could even have a bigger void than it looks like, even though it's a small gap onto the right in the video, and it's just being bound up with the aggregate on each side. So you're just looking at compaction issue compared to the load that was applied to it. This is an exterior polished concrete. I know 100% the history of this concrete. I installed it. It's been working on this one for now. This is the third year I think this was installed. Might be summertime. So it'd be the fourth season on this one. So it's gone through a few cycles. And what's happened here? Why is that broken? It's just not magically broken. Concrete, again, the same thing as I just pointed out a minute ago. If it's a break, that means your soil gave. 3,500 psi, you're not going to cause this a break unless your soil's giving. In this case, our soil gave because of erosion, if you will. Water coming over, getting underneath the concrete pad, expanding and contracting the soils. There we go, artist. Expanding and contracting the soils, and the vehicle tire coming to the end of the pad, crossing over the pad, creating a fulcrum, and the tension and compression failure happened right there. This is the same thing you see up front, except for it's got concrete on this side of it also, right? It's over here, all around it. No difference. No difference. Now, let's jump on this real quickly. So this is something I've been working on to see what would happen if I ground concrete that I totally had control over, from the start to the end. And what would happen if I ground and exposing the aggregate with a grind? Would the water from the snow, rain, etc., and freeze cycles get below the surface around the stone and start causing popping? And this is air entrained. And the answer is no. This has been 3 winters now, 4 summers, if I got that right. And their answer is no. There is no cracking on the surface on this product. Now you also see that I ground off the paste. That's what it amounts to there. The paste is gone. I put full cuts all the way through. That's where you see the grass coming through. You should seal it so water doesn't get down below there. Exposed aggregate. You see the cracks in the surface? You see the cracks anywhere? Nope. None. Now that's controlled by the pad. This is all coming out. This is all coming out and the radius is going around. So this is an interesting. Here's the bottom of the fire escape. Bottom of the fire escape. All isolation joints are what I made here. Not control joints. Well, I guess isolation joints. I try to cut through as much as possible. That's why you see the overlap. You can't have a round blade give you a nice square cut, can you? You could use a chainsaw type diamond blade. That would give you the straight up and down you need, but I wasn't concerned with that. These I did seal. I did not want water getting below that with a Sikaflex product. I think so. You notice the cracks coming off the where the steel is embedded, and that's like 4 inches embedment. And yet, not even the smallest of cracks are showing off of that metal. This is the older metal. It doesn't have the rust expansion issue. The quality is much better than they would make today. And even down here, as you can see, not a split off of it. Now they would tell us that we'd have to put expansion around here and come off the ends, the corners, and wrap this with expansion. You see the expansion I put on there? Zero. I think it's reverse. It's not coming off the metal expanding, causing the crack. I think it's the concrete coming into the metal's contact that's causing it. The concrete is the one that's doing the shrinkage and expansion. In this case, do you see the shrinkage around that metal? It'd be magic if you could see it. I would say there's no shrinkage around that metal. It's that tight. It's that tight. So all I did was change a portion of its shrinkage by isolating it. I've done this a few times and I keep getting the same results. That the expansion, even installing expansion, I get failure. But if I just isolate this thing with these type of block systems, then I'm okay. I got to predict or try to predict the path. That's why you see the multiple cuts. And I give it relief cuts. So what happens is that if this is expanding, it's just moving it that way just a little bit right into my expansion. And maybe it's contracting and going back against the metal. But it's just moving it into my expansion. That's what you're really looking at. That's the magic. Except for, how about this? This is a round pipe. Which way is it moving it? It's taut, tight, all the way around, right? So why are there no cracks off of there? So quick voiceover. This is because of my water content. This is why it's performed so well. My expansion and contraction joints. Water content. I don't jack it up. I don't run watery concrete. This whole joint's Sikaflexed. So there is another beautiful thing, another beautiful statement about isolation. Oh, I love curves also. This is a garden back at this point. I love radiuses. And you see no breaks in here. You'll see no surface cracking. All the control joints are fully cut. They were tooled and then came back and I cut them. But you see no surface cracking. This is mag trowel finished. There's your swirl finish, if you will. Let me see if I can get you down here with it. No surface cracking. Because I didn't allow the paste to, I didn't give a paste a chance to do that. I allow it to evaporate, the surface bleed water evaporate without any drama. Based on the temperature, you're going to mess up when you keep putting these steel trowels on this stuff. Stop doing that unless you're working inside and you really are paying attention to your surface bleed water issues. Stop using that guy. You know, get over there and mag it. Mag it, broom sweep it, things like that. There's your surface cracking. Right there, there's your culprit, and you're the other culprit because you're not letting the bleed water bleed off. Bleed off and then finish that paste at that point without the bleed water shrinking. You have the paste shrinkage because of the bleed water issues. You still got too much water in there, too much volume of water on top of your finished product that you're finishing, that paste. You've got to get your percentages down. Remember, it's an exothermic reaction. That's not really your cracking, it's your bleed water surface. If it was just the exothermic reaction, we would see cracks everywhere else. It wouldn't matter because this would also suffer exothermic reaction, right? This finish I have here. the other finishes I showed you would also suffer from it, and you would see surface cracking. It's just your paste, buddies. Just your paste.